Hello guys, welcome to the biology revision. Today's biology revision is on a topic known as human digestion. Okay, so it is very important that when it comes to human digestion, you need to understand what digestion is, and then you need to understand the different kind of parts of the body or of a human where digestion occurs from. Okay, so digestion is simply the breaking down of food substances into smaller pieces so that it can be utilized by the body. The breaking down of food substances into smaller pieces so that it can be utilized or used by the body. So when we talk of digestion, you need to know about the digestion of basically three types of food nutrients like proteins, then starch, and the lipids or fats. Okay, so I'm saying you need to understand about the digestion of three types of food nutrients, which are proteins, starch or carbohydrates, and the fats or lipids. And then when you're looking at digestion, you need to understand that this digestion is in two parts. There's what we call mechanical digestion, which involves the physical breaking down of food into smaller pieces using the teeth. And then there's also chemical digestion of food, which involves the breaking down of nutrients into more smaller pieces using enzymes. Okay, and then you need to know that each type of food nutrient is digested by a different type of an enzyme. Like there are different enzymes that digest the proteins, and there are different enzymes that digest starch, and there are different enzymes that digest the lipids or fats. And then we need also to know that we have three regions in the human body where digestion occurs from. So these regions are the mouth, the stomach, and then the small intestine. Okay, and then you need to know which type of food is digested in the mouth, which type of food is digested in the stomach, and then which type of food is digested in the small intestine. Okay, now going through this revision that we are going to have right now, you will understand these different types of digestion. Okay, so I thought of explaining that so that you are given a basis on what this is. So this paper, actually this question came from 2001, a paper which was written on the 14th of November. Now you might be wondering, this question came from 2001 and is it still valid or important? Yes, it is. Biology has never changed from the way the questions come in biology have never changed, and the structure of the papers has never changed. So we have paper 1, which is multiple choice, and then we have paper 2, which is a structure. Like in paper 2 we have section A, short answers, and then section B, essay type answers. And that has stayed the same from 2000, as far as I can remember seeing these papers, and up to date. Okay, so don't worry about that. So this question was actually question 8 from section B of paper 2. So 8A says describe how mammals digest A, starch, and Roman numeral 2, Roman numeral 1, starch, Roman numeral 2, protein. And then B, what is the fate of the products of A, Roman numeral 1, and Roman numeral 2. So for describing starch and protein, you get 8 marks. For stating the fate of the products of starch and protein, you get 4 marks. Then total you acquire 12 marks. Okay, so let us start right away. So we'll start with describing how mammals digest Roman numeral 1, starch. So here you have to understand that You have to understand that digestion of starch in mammals begins in the mouth, where the enzyme salivary amylase starts breaking it down into smaller sugars like maltose. This process continues in the small intestine, where pancreatic amylase further breaks down the starch into maltose. Finally, enzymes such as maltase on the lining of the small intestine break maltose into glucose. The glucose is then absorbed into the bloodstream and used for energy or stored for later use. Okay, so what have we said here? Here we have said that digestion of starch in a mammal starts in the mouth, where salivary amylase breaks down the starch into smaller sugars called maltose. Then we are saying this process of digestion now continues in the stomach, where pancreatic amylase further breaks down the starch into maltose. So this one will break further the same starch into maltose. Okay. Now here it broke the same starch, the same starch here into sugars like maltose, and here also starch into maltose. Is it correct? Yes, because there could be some starch that could not undergo or could not have been given chance to be broken down into maltose, because food does not last in the mouth. It just stays there for a shorter period of time, then it is swallowed. So meaning that the probability that here the digestion which occurs here is to some smaller extent, only a small amount of starch which is digested into maltose, and the large amount of starch is digested into the smaller intestine. So meaning that the starch which goes on into the smaller intestine is broken down by pancreatic amylase into maltose. Now, finally, that maltose which goes into the stomach still needs to be digested into glucose by an enzyme called maltase. That's why we said, finally, enzymes such as maltase on the lining of the small intestine break maltose into glucose. Now, once maltose is broken down by maltase into glucose, that is the final product of starch digestion. And once that has been achieved, the smallest particle has been reached, then that glucose is absorbed into the bloodstream, where it is used for energy in the process called tissue respiration. Where you have excess energy in the body, it is stored for later use. So this is the process of starch digestion. Now let's go to the next question about protein digestion. So here, protein digestion starts in the stomach, where the enzyme pepsin breaks down proteins into smaller polypeptides. In the small intestine, enzymes like trypsin further break these polypeptides into smaller peptides. Finally, enzymes such as peptidase on the lining of the small intestine break these peptides into individual amino acids. The amino acids are absorbed into the bloodstream and used to build and repair tissues, as well as to produce enzymes and other important molecules. Okay, so what have we said here about protein digestion? We have said that protein digestion starts in the stomach, where the enzyme called the pepsin breaks down proteins into smaller polypeptides. Now, in the small intestine, enzymes like trypsin further break these polypeptides into smaller peptides. Now, finally, there are enzymes like peptidase, which breaks down the peptides into amino acids. So amino acids are the final smaller particles of the digestion of proteins. So amino acids are the end products of the digestion of proteins. So the sequence of protein digestion is you have proteins digested in the stomach into polypeptides by pepsin. Then these um, these polypeptides are further broken down by trypsin into peptides in the smaller intestine. Okay, so take it as in the stomach, proteins are broken down into polypeptides by trypsin. I mean pepsin, sorry. Then also in the smaller intestine now, trypsin further breaks the polypeptides into smaller peptides. So in the mouth, we have trypsin breaking down protein into polypeptides. Then in the smaller intestine, we have trypsin breaking polypeptides into peptides. Then in the lining of the smaller intestines, we have peptidase breaking down the peptides into amino acids. Then amino acids are absorbed now into the bloodstream. For what purpose? They are used for building and repair of tissues, and also for building molecules such as enzymes and any other molecules that need proteins. So that is the order of protein digestion in the human body or in a mammal. Now, B, what is the fate of the products of A, Roman numeral 1 and Roman numeral 2? So when they say the fate is the end result when starch is digested into glucose. Where does glucose go? That is the fate now. Again, also when proteins are digested into amino acids, where do amino acids go? That is what this question is all about. So here you say the glucose produced from starch digestion is used by the body for energy. That is the fate of glucose. It is used by the body for energy. Any excess glucose is stored in the liver and muscles as glycogen or converted into fat. So this is what happens when you eat food containing carbohydrate like shima, like rice, like cassava. When you eat such kind of food or bread, it gets digested. If you have a lot of these, it will be digested into glucose. And if you still have a lot of glucose in the blood, what happens is the liver, it is going to take or get some of the excess glucose and then convert them into glycogen and store that glucose as glycogen so that it can be used at a later time when the body does not have enough glucose. Now, if the body still have enough uh, glycogen, that glycogen is further converted into fats. Okay, so that the storage now can be for a longer period of time. So in an event where now the body does not have um, glucose in the blood, so the glycogen is the first one to be converted into the into glucose for the body to use it. Now, as glycogen levels are reducing, the fats can also be converted from fats into glycogen, then glycogen into glucose.